Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to remind you each and every day, it expands our base. Each day is like another body blow. So much going on, so much to talk about, and so I will try this morning to segment the areas of concern which I feel so profoundly today. Donald Trump, yesterday, suspended aid to Ukraine. Let me repeat that. Donald Trump, yesterday, suspended aid to Ukraine. In a vindictive, bitter, angry moment in the Oval Office, Donald Trump revealed himself for all to see, if you were willing to watch objectively. Oh, I know, I listened to right-wing radio and television. Their perceptions were very different. But as someone who has studied the American presidency, I can tell you that if that had been a Democrat in the Oval Office reacting the way Donald Trump did, why, the Republicans would have been up in arms. But this is a very significant moment. We are told that Ukraine has at least 6 months of supplies. But if those supplies really were stopped by Donald Trump, and they have been suspended, Ukraine would have to rely on Europe. We used to say that Joe Biden did more to strengthen NATO as a result of Vladimir Putin's actions. Now we can say that Donald Trump, due to his actions, has strengthened NATO and the resolve of Ukraine and Europe to resist Russian aggression. Did you hear me clearly? Russian aggression. Yes, it is clear that Russia is and was the aggressor. The fact that Donald Trump pretends as if Vladimir Putin is pure as the driven snow is simply nonsensical. And so, what does it mean when aid is suspended? I have a question to members of Congress. You appropriated aid. Are you going to sit back and wait while Donald Trump suspends aid authorization that you approved? Does the president have the power to impound funds? That's the question. And I believe that Congress needs to react. Will the Republicans take up the cudgel and go to war against their own president? Well, it seems highly unlikely. But may I say, the suspension of aid to Ukraine is to me an impeachable offense. Yes, I've said it, and I'm going to say it again and again. Now, the votes are not there for impeachment. The Republicans are not in favor of impeachment. And as I pointed out to someone with whom I discussed this matter yesterday, it would mean that J.D. Vance would be president of the United States. Donald Trump isn't going to be impeached, not with this Congress. But by God, what he is doing scares the living bejeebers out of me, and should scare the living bejeebers out of you, and indeed the world. Can you imagine our withdrawing our commitment to defend liberty, to defend Ukraine? It is nothing less than a tragic, obscene moment in the history of the United States, due completely to the actions of the President of the United States. And let me take it a step further. I want to talk about tariffs. Donald Trump has now imposed tariffs on Mexico and on Canada and China. We now are in a trade war, a tariff war. We have created what I think conceivably will be a monster. Now, we may not feel it this week or next week, but by next month we will. And if Donald Trump's determination to proceed with tariffs continues, well, we have a problem, and the world will have a problem. The leadership of the United States and the belief of this country in free trade has been shattered by Donald Trump. Not since 1930, when the Smoot-Hawley tariff bill was passed by Congress, have we encountered this kind of situation. And let me point out that it was Congress that enacted Smoot-Hawley, not President Hoover. And I believe strongly that we should learn that lesson. I do not believe a president should have the power to impose tariffs. I believe that exceeds presidential authority. And I believe Congress needs to strike back and say, no, we will not accept this. I would remind you that when Smoot-Hawley was repealed by Congress, the tariff war ended in 1933. So the time has come for Congress again to assert itself. And we, the consumer, have to understand what the danger is. We are told by leading people involved in business that we will feel the effect of the tariff. And I believe that the fact that Donald Trump has initiated a tariff war is just incomprehensible. Congress needs to take back its power and not surrender power to the executive. And then, in a move little noted but important to consider, the head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation office in New York City, James Dennehy, was forced out. He was told, either resign or be fired. Do you remember Kash Patel saying clearly that there would not be a purge when he was asked about it in his hearings? Do you remember it? I said to you there would be a purge. I had no doubt that the decision of Kash Patel, based on his own words and his own book, would result in this. And by the way, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of the United States, supports this. May I say that the Federal Bureau of Investigation, whatever imperfections it may have, is not a political body, nor should it be viewed politically. And yet, the reason that Dennehy is now out is because he questioned whether or not those agents working in relation to the investigation ordered on October 6th, about January 6th, should continue. This is not an appropriate action by the director of the FBI, nor by the FBI itself. And those who voted without any question or doubt, those who voted for Kash Patel's confirmation in the Senate had better take a hard look if the FBI is now going to be driven by politics. There is no doubt that this is a serious matter. Now, a moment ago, I spoke of January 6th, but I talked about October 6th. And of course, what I really mean is October 7th. The impact of what is happening now in the Middle East and Donald Trump's seeming determination to go ahead with his approach to the Middle East, which frankly will lead to a dead end. It is not reasonable to believe that Gaza can be purged of Palestinians any more than it is likely that Gaza can have its own resort, or as we saw in a video, a gold statue of Donald Trump and a Trump casino kind of operation in Gaza. These moments in our history are clear and profound, and we need to know that this is just the beginning of the Donald Trump approach. Now, tonight at 6 o'clock California time, 9 o'clock on the East Coast, we will watch Donald Trump deliver what is termed not a State of the Union, because, well, he hasn't been president long enough, and it's a new Congress. But we are told that what Donald Trump is going to do is to lay out his view of the world. We shall listen carefully. And this morning, we were told that the Democrats are going to invite people to sit on the floor with them who have lost their jobs as part of this reduction, so-called, in government. And yet now we know that DOGE, as it is called, is really something that is not legitimate. It is not a government agency. And more than that, savings that they are claiming to have are not legitimate. And those who will suffer the slings and arrows of all of this will be American workers. This, my friends, is a dramatic moment in the history of our country. And I used the term impeachment before. If the Democrats controlled the House of Representatives, there would be impeachment proceedings. I know that with Jim Jordan as chairman of the House Judiciary Committee and with the Republicans in control of Congress, there is no chance at all for such a movement. But I must tell you that I believe that what Donald Trump has done is a violation of every principle of the Constitution, and he ought to pay the consequence. I was asked, what will the consequence be? It will be reflected in the results of the midterms. If the Republicans hold the House and Senate in the midterms, well, Donald Trump will have free rein until the end of his term. But if the American people rise up, well, it's possible that restraints will be put on Donald Trump. And more than that, we now look to the courts. The courts are going to be critical. Will the courts react? And how will they restrain presidential power? I would urge you all to go back and Google Marbury versus Madison, 1803, and you will understand that despite the statements made by a new nominee for Solicitor General and a new nominee for Assistant Attorney General or Deputy Attorney General. The fact is the courts do matter, and if the courts rule, you can't ignore it. I say this because we face potentially a real constitutional crisis. If, as the President, the Vice President, the Solicitor General designate, and the Associate Attorney General designate are saying you can ignore the courts, then, my friends, the question of the American Constitution becomes clear. I know that this is a somber and, frankly, not particularly pleasant podcast, but I'm laying it out just the way it is. And I hope that you will share this podcast so others will hear what is going on in the world. And by the way, we've only touched the surface of the issues involving Donald Trump. It is impossible in the 11 minutes, a little bit more that I will speak this morning, that we can outline it all. But these are issues which need to be debated, discussed, and understood by the American people. This is an assault on democracy. It is precisely what Joe Biden indicated in his speech to the American people before his departure from office. These are grave moments, and we will be talking about them right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which of course is our goal. And I welcome your comments. They come to me through Facebook, through LinkedIn. Some of you have been so bold as to call me on the phone, and I'm grateful for that as well. These are serious times, and we will address them right here. My special thanks to Gogo Zoger, who is the producer of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Without Gogo, well, I'd be in big trouble. So Gogo, your job is secure, but more than that, Around the Political World with John Rothman will be back tomorrow, right here with you.